Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back to the show. We are so excited to have our next guest joining us here today, Karrin Felton joining us. And I'm happy to say I do have her email. Yay! We're going to have a good show because I know the focus of the topic we're going to talk about. But first and foremost, before we do that, we got to get our feet planted a little bit. It's always good to get grounded and introduce our friend. I love the little segue there. Could you share a little bit about what you do to start?
I would love to. Thank you so much, Jill, for such a great opening. I love the puns. I absolutely love it. Who am I? I am Karrin Mayfield Felton, owner of Feet Planted LLC. I started a company based off of my experience as a professional in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And my mission is to help early career professionals in that space thrive and excel in their careers as well as in life. And I do that in community. I do that through services. I do that in public speaking, keynote speaking, community service, and I'm doing it right now here with you, Jill.
Great. And where are you based out of, by the way?
I am based out of the DMV, or better known as Stafford, Virginia, DC, Maryland, Virginia area. That's where I am.
Perfect. And how can we find you?
You can find me on my website at www.feetplantedllc.com. And if you use that verbiage on social media, you will find me on YouTube, LinkedIn, you will find me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all of the places.
Well, let's talk about adding value in your STEM career and what that means, and a little bit about STEM and what that even is, because we hear about all of, my kids are 6 and 8. We hear STEM, STEM, STEM. What does STEM even stand for?
STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and math. And if you add an A in front of the M or after the M, that is the art. So some people use the acronym STEAM and some use STEMA. But I believe in all of those areas working in concert to make our communities better, to make our world better with innovation, with just the basic things like what we're doing now via technology, talking across the keyboard. Someone had to invent that technology, the airwaves, the internet, the computer technology for us to be able to hear and see each other. So it all fits back into how we move the needle forward in our day-to-day lives and all the things that we do.
It's crazy, right? Like I started watching Young Sheldon. Did you ever watch that show?
Yes, I did.
Okay, based in the 80s. And he gets, me and my kids, we're like on season 3, but he gets the modem and the cable line, and we hear him.
Yeah, I remember
and I'm
that.
thinking, I didn't have a computer till I was 1995, I guess it was. But still, that sound, that like technology, and how they're like in the show talking about how predicting, the future of, in-person learning and stuff. It was just like crazy to think we've come so far, and it hasn't been that long. But, the world before all this technology, it's pretty fascinating.
It is very fascinating. And I can give you another example, Fred Flintstone or the Jetsons. Actually, that's what I was thinking about, talking on the wristwatch. Like, we're doing that now. Like, we're here. And so it's part of my childhood, part of your childhood, and it is here to stay. It is here to stay.
It is. All right. Well, thank you so much. Let's continue the topic, obviously. We're talking STEM. And what else is on the agenda?
We're talking about adding value and consistency. Those 2 points particular as it relates to those of us who are interested in pursuing a career in science, technology, arts, and mathematics.
So can I call you Young Sheldon? Are you that smart?
I wish I was.
I think you are. FeetPlantedLLC.com. Yeah, she's here.
Yes, I am. And one of the things that I love about what it is that I do is that I tell people I'm not the smartest person in the room, nor should I be. I think that's one way, speaking of adding value, is that we add the most value by being willing to surround ourselves with people from different backgrounds, from different ethnicities, from different disciplines, so that we can learn from each other. And we that synergy of me learning and imparting really helps us to advance in so many different ways as humans, as well as advance the world of STEM.
Oh, well, thank you. And what other, you're helping so many, right, at all different ages to develop all this And, what was your inspiration behind learning, more about this science and mathematics? I found out when I got to speak to you last week, but from new time listeners, just tell us a little bit about that first time when you realized this is maybe what you wanted to do. And then you, as a minority, as a female, as an African American, unfortunately, people didn't respect you. And I commend you for sharing that story, because there's so many that I'm sure you've inspired from that and still do, because, you're an accomplished woman who's worked hard. And it's so sad that we as women and those of us like yourself, that's a minority, has to get judged by our looks, our color, our gender. It bothers me. So I'm so glad to have a woman of science and math here who's super smart. By the way, I did calc too. Okay, that's as far as I got. Physics,
Man,
I did my AP classes. That's it. But not as smart as you. But I'm excited to talk to someone, because I'm trying to encourage my kids. They're 6 and 8, and I'm trying to learn their math. And I said, how did I do all this math? And I can't understand what they're teaching in math nowadays. And it's
called that
discouraging.
new math. Yeah. I tried to help somebody. Just like, I don't know what you all are doing. I need somebody to tell me how we got here.
There was a TikTok, a woman on TikTok who's a neurosurgeon talking about her kids, how she doesn't understand their homework. And it's like, wait, she's a neurosurgeon. The way they're teaching is just a little different, but I feel like I hope we're not uninspiring them to learn more about the sciences and math,
So we're evolving. We're evolving in how we are teaching our millennials, our Generation Z. I believe that's the right term. And so every category of person learns differently. So you have to imagine, when I was your child's age, I didn't have the cell phone.
Yep.
I didn't have technology at my fingertips. And so we are building an ecosystem of learners who are very adaptive, who are able to not have to sit through commercials. I was watching something on social media the other day where she was saying that her daughter fast forwards to the commercial, like presses pause, go uses the bathroom and comes back. We didn't have any of that, right? So we're in a different age where we have to adapt with the times. And one of the ways that we adapt is that we understand who we are, we understand where we are, and we understand how we contribute. And those were not in that order. The things that I had to get really clear on as I was coming up through high school, coming up through undergraduate and graduate school, and then going on into my career, I needed to understand who I was, because I was evolving. I was also learning new skills. There were new emergent needs in technology. There were priorities that were of interest to industry, and they needed men and women who were interested in pushing that needle and being creative and digging in and solving problems. And so that is how not only I add value, but I add my experiences. I add who I am in totality to those spaces and those problems. And that's what has helped me collaborate. That's why you and I are here talking, right? We're different. We have our own different experiences. We have our different backgrounds, what makes us unique. And when we understand that, when we embrace it, we are not only able to add value, but when we come together, it's not a competition. It's, ooh, I didn't know that about this, or, well, tell me more about that. And that synergy, that back and forth, and the curiosity, when you mix all of that in, plus the acumen of actually studying engineering and science, you're able to do so much. Yep. And that is what we need to be teaching our children. That's what we need to be teaching in the schools, so that we can continue a generation of learners and explorers and students who want to be brave and question and challenge, so that we can get to that innovation a little faster.
Do you want to share some experiences about some of the people you've worked with, the students, children, adults, about adding that value as far as, how that's helped them along the way? And then we also, I know you want to mention consistency, and if you don't mind diving into that too.
I would love to. One of the ways that I learn, I am an adaptive learner, but I really like people, and I learn from people. And what I want everyone out there who is listening to understand is, just because you may be younger, I don't care how old you are, we have the capacity to learn from one another at any age and at any station in life. And so when I learned that by working with my peers, folks that were my colleagues, and when I went into classrooms to tutor and to help students with their homework, talking about that new math, I quickly learned that they had something to impart onto me. And so that is actually, you brought up a really good example. I tutored at a middle school, and I came in and I was just like, I'm an engineer. I did the math. I did a lot of math. I can do this. And when I sat down with them and they explained their homework, I asked more questions about what the assignment was and what they were asked to do than I actually imparted wisdom. And what they were sharing with me during the process was that they really understood the fundamentals of the problems that they were being asked to do. And I'm watching it transform like right in my eyes. Like she says, oh, no. So the homework assignment from last week, we learned how to do this. And in order to do this problem this way, you have to solve it in these steps. And so that's why when we get to this week's homework assignment, you have to do it this way. And I'm looking at her and smiling, and she's like, so do you understand? And I was just like, you understand? Did you hear yourself? Just explain to
Wow.
me the process of what your homework assignment was.
That's
And I
insane.
and that is what it means to add value and be curious and be able to explain it in your own terms, in her terms. She was educating me, but what she didn't realize is that she got it. And when I saw that light come on, I was just like, okay, I really love this process of discovery. And it made me want to do more of it. It made me want to be around people who are thirsty to learn and not afraid to fail and be curious, because it's exciting. It gives us permission to actually not get it right. But what it does, it leads
Yep.
into that next point that I want to talk about is consistency, the step and repeat of that as we get older. And those things are taught, they're learned, and we can help one another in any stage of your career, specifically though in STEM, to actually go through that process often enough so that we can actually use those muscles. And that's part of the gap that I'm trying to bridge, is that not enough of us are using the muscles, and they're atrophied. They're actually kind of weak. So when we get to these meetings and we get to these groups, regardless of what it is in, community or work or school, and then you're asked to perform and execute, struggle because the muscles haven't been used on a regular basis.
Ooh, ooh. How do we keep working them? How do we keep this curiosity alive? And yeah.
We keep it alive by showing up and being consistent. The things that we do when we're alone are a big part of what we do when we get into community. So if you are interested in pursuing, let's just say, graphic design, I'll go for the A in STEAM for this example. If you're interested in graphic design, you can actually access tools through several of the free things that are out there through Google. You can just look up Google and look up free software. And so you can read about it. You can actually pick up your phone. If you've got a free app, you can actually play with it. You can learn about colors. There's so many things related to a topic that you can explore on your own about being curious. And then when you get to the point of wanting to apply it, maybe you are in the classroom and you have an assignment, or maybe you're in one of your community groups and someone says, well, we need a flyer, or we need something prettied up. And you raise your hand and say, well, I'll try, because you've looked at graphic design, you've looked at the templates, you've looked at the examples, and now it's time for you to actually execute. It's time for you to use all the stuff that you learned. And by moving that muscle of trying, not knowing the outcome, you're not afraid to do it again. You submit it and it doesn't get the award, or you don't get the grade you want. And it's like, man, okay, well, let me go back and figure out what I need to do differently. Or you go on that job, you apply, you don't get the raise, you don't get put on that project, and then you go back and say, okay, well, maybe I need more training. Maybe I need to investigate further. That's how you build the muscle. You just don't, you're consistent. You're consistently doing it. You're consistently asking questions. You're consistently surrounding yourself by people who elevate you, and you just keep doing one thing. It's not a big thing. It's not necessarily a small thing, but you keep doing it consistently.
All right. Good to know. Now let's remind everyone how we can reach you.
I can be reached at www.feetplantedllc.com. If you go to the bottom of the homepage, you'll see a picture of me and you'll be able to actually message me, send me information, ask me questions. I'm also on social media. Those links should be at the top of my homepage. I definitely love inquiries. So if you're interested in how you can move the needle forward with your students or with your employees, and you say, okay, maybe we want to bring her here to try to speak and to try to help us add value and work on those consistency things, reach out to me. I would love to hear from you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. All right. Well, let's continue the conversation. Feetplantedllc.com. You also do speaking engagements,
I do.
and you're serving, I mean, so many. Where are you based out of again?
I am based out of Stafford, Virginia.
Okay.
So you can find me there. And we're in this great information age. So I do Zoom calls. There's so many ways to communicate. I am open to all of them, to include face-to-face, which is where I think we need to start moving so that we can have that true impact with our community and with the folks coming up behind us.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much. And, we still have a time left to talk more about all that you're doing. Do you want to share a story or two of someone you're helping that you've worked with?
Oh, I would love to. I would love to. So I am a mentor. That is definitely an area that I believe is so very important. January is still National Mentoring Month, so we're still
Okay.
in that month. And what I really want to weigh heavy on is the opportunity to find someone that you can pour into. And the story that I'll share is of when I was in high school, and I
Mm-hmm.
was slightly competitive, and I was applying for scholarships, and my grades were just like a point lower than the person that would get it, and I would start to get discouraged. And one of the things that my mom told me, she's like, "So does that mean that because you don't get what you want, that you stop trying?" And she
Ooh.
said, "So have you looked at your essay? Have you instead?" So what I was focused on was the outcome. The
Mm-hmm.
outcome was I didn't get it, wasn't selected, or I had somehow deemed myself not good enough, right? And my mother reminded me in no uncertain terms, she's like, "You probably weren't good enough. What are you doing to make sure that you're rising to the occasion?" And having that person to be able to challenge you and say, "Well, have you looked at this?" And I pulled my essay out, and sure enough, I had typed it up again. Yay, computers weren't the rage back then. I had some misspelled words, run-on sentences, and I read it. And my mom said, "Read it out loud." And when I read it out loud, I was like, "Oh
Oh,
wow,
wow. Yeah.
oh wow,
Mm-hmm.
okay. I need to go back and fix this. I need to." And she didn't even have to give me direction. It was pointing me in the direction, and then I self-corrected. And that's what mentorship is about. So I encourage you that if you have someone in your purview, someone on your
Mm-hmm.
job that could need that needs that extra
That,
push,
yep.
to just go on and step in and say, "Hey, I would like to be someone that you could talk to if you have a problem. I'm good at this. I think you would be great at this. And are you open to some truth and criticism?" Because that's going to be key in your mentor and or coach being able to help you see yourself as excellent, not where you are, but where you can be. And that's the point.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Feetplantedllc.com. It's all about keeping things consistent and learning more these STEM techniques. Now, do you have speaking engagements coming up?
I do. I'm actually going to be speaking for Women's History Month at Germanna Community College, Germanna is located in several different areas in the DMV, but I am looking forward to having a conversation about STEM and making sure that women everywhere of all ethnic backgrounds, all disciplines are able to see themselves, and we're able to see ourselves and one another and really start to create that community, and a community that looks out for one another, that sharpens our skills, that we're able to be, allies and champions for one another, because there are a lot of things happening in the world now for women. We're discouraged, we're tired, and I want to just give us that extra push that says, "Hey friend, I can help you keep going, and let's do that for as many women as we can."
Yeah, beautifully said. All right. And what other words of wisdom do you want to share with us today? Just making sure we're covering everything that I got in the email. Right? It was just the value of the STEM. Perfect. Just making sure I pulled it back up, and consistency.
Now, I appreciate you asking me that. One of the things about consistency, and I said it before, but I want to say it a little differently. It's not going to look the same for everyone. I really encourage all of us to really walk the walk that we have. It's not going to look like everybody else's, especially when you are pursuing a discipline that's challenging, that's got a lot of rigor. And even if you're not, even if you're working, to really appreciate your journey and understand that consistency means doing the best that you can do where you are, tending your soil, and not worrying about how soft or how watered or the growth in somebody else's yard. Focusing on you, pulling up long enough to look around to make sure you're not hitting a wall, but focusing on you and doing those things that are going to propel you forward at your speed, at your pace, that support you in your journey.
Well, thank you. And if someone does want to talk to you, do you offer an initial conversation? How does it work to get started?
Well, how it works is that on my website, on my homepage, you send me a message and you let me know what you're interested in. I'm also on LinkedIn too. A lot of people reach out to me there, so I check that frequently as well. If you're interested in wanting to talk to me about a workshop or a speaking engagement, please just put as much detail as you can. You don't have to write a whole lot, and then we'll just talk about it. I love conversation. Like what we're doing right now is really a great vibe. And that's how I am with everyone who is interested in Feet Planted LLC, interested in me, so that I can understand how I can support you and we can move the needle forward. Perfect.
Thank you. And one more time, tell us how we can contact you.
You can contact me at www.feetplantedllc.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Pleasure to have you, and enjoy the weekend. Any good plans?
Oh my goodness, I plan on resting.
Oh, good. I was going to say, you're not just work all the time. You got to rest that mind, right? There's the importance of doing both.
Yes, I've got to rest and rejuvenate for the
Perfect.
task ahead.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being here, for joining us, and looking forward to the next time we connect. Okay.
Likewise. Thank you so much, Jill.
Thank you. Have a great day. We appreciate you. Enjoy the relaxation.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.